Well, aloha. My name is Dustin Malama. I am the traffic education specialist at Honolulu's Department of Transportation Services. I am in charge of the City and County of Honolulu's pedestrian safety program. And joining me today are Shauna Lee Ontiveros and from Kailua Kona on Hawaii Island, and Marissa Toyoka from Ka'ala Elementary School here on Wahiawa here on Oahu. And hello, welcome. We are here. So today we're going to be kind of talking a little bit about the walking school buses or variants thereof. And Shoshana and Marissa both have successful programs that they started at their schools. And I wanted them to kind of share their expertise on how those were achieved, the challenges thereof, and all of that. Shauna, I believe that you did kind of more of a traditional walking school bus, correct?
Yes, we did. For a traditional walking school bus, we were able to see this implemented at a mainland school and then thought it might be something good here.
Great. Can you explain a little bit what a walking school bus is for those who might not know?
So essentially, it's just a group of adults on a designated route within our school district. So within 1 mile of the school, because there is no buses available, kids either walk or get dropped off. And in my school, in my area, there are 5 low-income housings right around us. So we thought that we could get to each of these schools and pick up or identify students who were on our chronically absent list, identify which housing they were at, and then we would specifically go in to pick up these students that needed to be in school because they were chronically absent. And then we would just walk them to school, and then we did some other things just to make it fun.
Right. Marissa, can you tell me a little bit about your program and what you do?
Sure. Our program is, I guess, a little bit it's similar to Shauna's program in the sense that we targeted our kids with chronic absences. We have a little bit of a modified program, though. We call ours the Safe Walking Route. And so we have volunteers stationed at strategic points on the way to school. And what we do is just kind of pass the students from volunteer to volunteer. So they'll kind of walk from one station, the other station assistant will kind of walk up and meet them halfway and then take them the rest of the way and just kind of pass the students along all the way to the route to school.
And this one's for either of you. Maybe Shauna first. What was you kind of mentioned it a little bit just now, but what was kind of your major uh, reasoning for starting this?
It was because of our chronically absent students. Um, that was something that was brought up a long time, like, hey, what are some different ideas that we could try to target these kids and basically get them to school. So when the walking school bus came up, we're like, yeah, let's do this or try it.
And Marissa, same to you.
Yeah, same. I think we were really looking to improve the kids' attendance in that area. And the other thing too is I'm not sure if you folks are familiar with Wahiawa, but kind of around the area where our school is, there's a lot of homeless people. There's a lot of loose dogs, and then the roadways and the walkways are just not safe. Part of the thing that we did before we started our program was just to walk and canvass the area and see what issues we kind of could identify. There are a lot of cars that are double parked on the sidewalk, and there's a lack of sidewalk to begin with, but on the walkway, a lot of cars that are double parked, a lot of trash in the area. So for our students to get from one point to another point, they'd have to actually walk along the street, which was something that we wanted to help them do safely.
And for both of you, how did this affect attendance when you started doing this?
For my school, um, we haven't seen too much of a change for the intermediate school, but for elementary school, every morning we're getting anywhere from like 40 to 60 kids. This morning we had 60 kids. We thought it was going to be less because first day back from a break, but we had a lot of kids that were already waiting for our volunteers that go out. So the excitement for our school bus is definitely picking up. Yeah.
Marissa, you too, how was your attendance affected by all this?
I'd say that the attendance of those kids that we really targeted, the ones that were having the chronic absenteeism, those guys, their attendance has gotten a lot better. And I wouldn't say that we have like huge numbers. Like we don't, I mean, we're a small school to begin with, so we don't have 40 or 60 walkers, but we do have our regular walkers who are the ones who are not coming to school previously, were either coming super late or just weren't coming at all. So removing that barrier, I think was a huge win for us. We did have a parent who even would have to travel on the handy van to bring her kids to school because she wasn't physically able to walk them, didn't have access to a car. So for us to be able to provide that safe route for her, created a lot of peace of mind. She was a little bit nervous at first, would kind of come out with us and walk part of the way, but now she just sees us at our starting point, kind of waves to the kids and then sends them off on their way.
I understand that this probably takes a lot of coordination and communication with parents and everything. So for both of you, basically, like, yeah, what are some of the challenges and how did you overcome those challenges?
Well, getting volunteers is a challenge. We kind of looked at our community partners and kind of asked a lot of churches in the area, some former retired teachers, former colleagues that would be willing to dedicate their time. So that's kind of helped. I think another challenge, I guess, would be just the area and the roadways and everything. I know that we tried to partner with you folks and looking at how to get improvements in the road conditions and sidewalks and that type of thing as well. So those two things have kind of been challenges for us.
I think for me, the challenges I faced were basically the parents not being familiar um, with our school people. So a lot of I guess a lot of our parents, they don't feel comfortable coming into the school setting. So um, now that we're like going out there in bright yellow shirts and like knocking on your doors looking for your kids, like some people were kind of apprehended at first, like, oh, who are these strangers? So we sent out all of our avenues to like let people know that we were doing this. We called every parent, we emailed every parent that were on our list, and let those parents know as well, like if there are other kids in the area that we're doing this starting on this day and we'll be out every single Monday. So we did that, but still there was still people that was kind of like, what's going on. And then of course, going out early in the morning, we did have some that were not very happy with us making the noise in the morning to kind of like, hey, we're here for your kids. And then volunteers was another challenge for us. So we've reached out to same thing, all the community partners, some parents who live in the area, some teachers who can kind of walk and then leave us a little bit and then go set up their classrooms and get ready for school. So I guess right now the challenge is basically keeping those volunteers.
That's the current challenge is like retaining the people that are helping. And how are they feeling about everything? Are they happy with the program? Are they like kind of invested in it?
We have a good, I want to say like 7 to 10 people that are in that they're very vested in what's going on.
Mhm.
And there's like 4 teachers from the elementary school that are there, you know, rain or shine. There's a couple of parents who come and go, but for the most part, like there's probably just a dedicated 7, and we need at least 16 volunteers because we have 2 walk times, one for elementary, one for intermediate, but there's
Mhm.
usually no one for intermediate.
Gotcha. So the intermediate school is kind of the big challenge right now, huh?
Yes.
Another challenge for us was
Hmm.
trying to get the program started because we weren't sure, like, could we walk the kids on the road? Could we stop traffic, that type of stuff? And then we were also worried about like liability, right? Like, are we liable if the kid happen to get hurt or something were to happen? So one thing that was helpful was we had a meeting with a lot of our community partners and invited like our representative and our senator and our council member and HPD for our area and just kind of got their feedback and used them to push out the information to like the Wahiwa neighborhood board and all those types of things. And so now that I think we've been out there, it's been good because a lot of the community will stop and say, hey, thank you. You know, we're glad that you guys are out there, because just bodies out there kind of helps to slow drivers down, just kind of builds awareness. And then now the middle school in our area too has started a similar program where they have volunteers out there and are trying to get their kids to school safely as well.
That's great. And I guess another question that would probably be worth asking is like, uh, for both of you, like, what is the planning process? What did it take? Like, kind of walk me through, like, if somebody wanted to do their own program, what's like the first step, and kind of describe how you planned it a little bit.
Our first step was kind of putting feelers out there to see who would be willing to help volunteer. And then we wanted to get the word out, I think was the other big thing. So we identified all of the students who were living on specific streets along the route, called all of those families, made sure the parents knew about the program. Um, and then I think from there, it just kind of took off. We just, you know, talked to HPD and made sure that we were like in compliance, I guess, with certain things. We know that we can't stop traffic. We worked with you folks to get help on what the safest route would be, kind of making sure that we use traffic crosswalks, you know, signals and that type of stuff, rather than crossing them and jaywalking, I guess. But that was a lot of I think the planning that there was a lot of behind the scenes work. But I think in the end, it was all worth it.
And to clarify, when you said you guys, you meant the Honolulu DTS, Department of Transportation Services, with that with Yamato specifically, the Safe Routes to School?
Yes, we
Okay.
tried to find other schools on island who did similar programs, and I guess just kind of through word of mouth too. We got, I think it was through maybe our JPO HPD
Mm.
officer had mentioned that Heia Elementary on the Windward side was doing a program. So I reached out to the person who was kind of doing theirs and kind of got some ideas. But everything really needed to be tailored to our population and, you know, our situation too. But it was so helpful to get ideas and kind of brainstorm some things with other groups.
Shauna, what about you? What's step one in planning your version?
For me, step one was just, you know, I had we have this group, our MTSS, multi-tier support services in our school that hold meetings and just kind of talk about the things that we can do to improve attendance and whatnot. One of our student support services teacher, you know, came up and said, hey, what do you think about a walking school bus? And I'm like, yeah, sure. But then in my brain, I'm like, what is a walking school bus? Like, what does this entail? Like, okay. But that's me. I'm always like, yeah, let's do it. You know, I'm on board for everything. And then I never heard anything from her. We never did anything. We didn't get together. We didn't plan. But through community schools, I was able to go to New Mexico for a learning lab. And there they were like, we have a walking school bus. And I'm just like, whoa, okay, all ears. So I listened, I talked to the lady that was doing it, and then just like got all the information on what they were doing. And for them, they have alleyways and walkways. So they started improving the alleyways, building gardens and that kind of stuff. So of course, you know, coming back home, it's like we don't have these things, but how do I tailor it to us? So we sat down, did some planning. Our MTSS team did the identifying the targeted students that we needed to get that were in the area. And then I basically went to work with finding volunteers, figuring out how do we get the safe route. So then I was put into contact with Jesse Domain from the county's Safe Route to Schools. And then from there, he connected me with like Paul Strauss, Department of Health. And then my community partner was Franz Weber with Paying It Forward Hawaii, who connected with Kelly Hudick. She's with Parks and Recreation and Path. And so together, like I would just like, hey, this is what I want to do. What do you guys think? Like, how can you guys help us? So, you know, we got safety gear from one, HPD. I just talked to the person that was assigned to our area just to make sure that we were following all the rules, or if there was anything that I needed to be aware of, any training that any of these volunteers needed to go to. So there was nothing, said just follow your regular, you know, crossing the street kind of stuff. And then Jesse connected me with No, Jesse came, they came for our first walk and then just saw it and was like, okay, this is like, we can do this. And then, yeah, from there, we just made sure that all of our parents were aware. We got the same colored shirts. We have safety flags. We have stop signs for the two people that'll stand by the crosswalk. And then we have a parent volunteer who comes and dresses up every morning of our walk in some kind of inflatable suit just to make the little ones just feel, welcome to school on their first day.
That's funny. That's nice. That's a nice little touch.
Yes.
Um, I guess that's another good question that kind of comes to mind is what kind of funding did you guys have? How did you get that funding? Uh, Something I didn't think about that getting materials or the vests or the flags. So yeah, tell me a little bit about how you got that funding and where it came from.
So there was just donated from Jesse from the Safe Routes to School. He got me the blinking lights and the slap bracelets that are neon yellow. Our company, Partners in Development Foundation, had some funding, so they provided the shirts for me. I reached out to our neighborhood place for the crossing guard signs and vests. Um, what else did we get? Oh, and then Franz Weber from Paying It Forward, he provides like snacks in the morning because sometimes the littles don't make it to breakfast in time because they start earlier than intermediate school. So we have like granola bars for them just in case.
Marissa, same question.
Yeah, so the summer that before we started, I applied for the Good Idea Grant. I think it's the Public Schools of Hawaii Foundation or something like that. And so I kind of wrote up a proposal for everything. And then we were able to get some funds from them. So we used that to buy like similar to Shana, some signage, the stop signs. We purchased walkie-talkies because those are super helpful to communicate to the volunteers. We purchased cones. What else? Some vests, I think. But then we also reached out to some of our community partners, and we have a t-shirt vendor who is, I think, an alumni of Lelehua. And so he was able to print shirts for the staff who are on duty. And then he also printed on our reflective vests, our Safe Walking Route logo. And so we were able to, get a lot of our supplies, I guess, through that grant or just donations. We also are part of that CARES portal. And so we had put out some requests for some funds on that portal, and we were able to receive donations that way as well.
Somebody wants to implement this at their school, what would you recommend they do first?
I think definitely just making sure that you have those volunteers and people that are vested in helping and making sure that, it's not just a one-time thing. It's definitely, for us, we do it every single Monday of the week or Tuesday if Monday's a holiday. So just making sure that those people are vested to continue to volunteer for all of that. And definitely just crossing all of your, T's and dotting the I's. Just check with your, like your safe routes to school, checking with your obviously like your school administration, and then yeah, just getting all that the safety stuff taken care of and making sure everyone is aware of your route and families are aware.
And to kind of follow up with that, how did you find your volunteers? What was your number one kind of volunteer
We made a
source?
flyer and sent it out through our both of our we use Remind, the elementary schools uses Class Dojo. And then we emailed all the parents on our attendance list.
And who comprises most of your volunteers?
Right now it's just mostly the elementary. There's both of us, the coordinators, and then there's two staff members and one parent and then one community member.
Excellent. Marissa, same question. What would you say to somebody who says, how do I do this at my school?
I would agree with Shauna. I think first thing is getting those volunteers who can commit. We were able to get a bunch of retired teachers our first year, but I think just sustaining that was difficult. They like to enjoy their retirement years. And so we do our Safe Walking Route Mondays through Thursday, so 4 days a week. And so it was a lot. I know it's a lot to ask of them, but we also have community partners. So some of our church groups in the area. We are partners with Wahiwa Health. We have a behavioral health clinic at our school on campus. So our nurses from that program volunteer on our route. We have some people from our attendance review council in our Lelehua complex who have also volunteered. And then our social worker has been super helpful with planning. She's out there twice a week on the, you know, on the route herself. So I think the volunteers, I think is probably the main thing that I would start with, because if you don't have the bodies, it's hard to sustain the program.
How often do you do your walking school buses? Is this every day or every like select days? When do you do it?
I do just Mondays. Right now, we plan to do Mondays and Fridays, but we just don't have enough volunteers to do a second day. So this school year, we just concentrated on the Mondays because that was the identified day that we had the highest absences.
We do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays from 7 o'clock to about 7:45. So about 6:45, we're meeting all of our volunteers in the Walgreens parking lot. We're handing out our supplies and our walkie-talkies, and then they go to their stations. And then when we're done, they all meet back. We collect our supplies and then go about our day.
How are the police departments and community police involved in your programs?
So we have a partnership with the community policing in our area. And so our officers come to our school and kind of work with our students. So we use them as our point of contact with HPD. And so they were starting the program, I guess, with us from the very beginning. And then we also use HPD sometimes because we call when there are cars that are illegally parked. And we ask them to kind of check it out.
For me, HPD was only involved in the very beginning when I reached out about safety measures, but after that, um, we don't have enough of them in the area. So yeah, we don't really have too much involvement from HPD.
We had one pre-question from, we've had a few, but I think we kind of hit those. But this one I thought was a really good question that we got. How do you build sustainability into efforts given that kids and thus invested parents and families change from year to year? So I think this is a problem with most elementary schools in dealing with how slow things are going. I know with us in the Department of Transportation, we'll get a parent who's really into making sure a crosswalk is built, but then once their kid leaves the school, we lose that parent. So how do you guys kind of deal with making this? I know they're pretty young right now, your programs, but how do you plan for the long term on these?
It's volunteers. I don't rely too much on the parents because I know a lot of the parents already have a lot of commitments, with work and whatnot. So I definitely really rely on the other volunteers besides the parents to kind of help um, sustain the program. And then we're always changing, we're always adapting. Like right now, we're not really getting too many intermediate kids. It's mainly the elementary kids, but we also do like walking tokens for the kids. So like building incentives and all of them word of mouth and talking to others like, oh, Auntie gives us craft charms or something, So that has uh, built more morale for the kids to want to do this. And then there are other kids besides just the ones that we target. And then we do have some families that kind of reach out, like, do you guys need anything? So it's always, we need volunteers.
Shauna, can you tell me when did you start your walking school bus program?
We started December 16th. That was our first walk. And then we did every Monday after that.
December 16, 2024.
Yes.
Excellent. Marissa, yeah, gonna ask you too about the sustainability, but when did you start your walking school bus?
Last school year in October. So I think that'd be October 23, 2023.
2023. So a little over a year old now. What is your plans for sustainability?
I agree with Shauna. I mean, all about the volunteers and how we can get them to come. But I feel like the ones that are dedicated, they see the value. And so even though it's a lot of time, they are willing to to give it, because they see our kids who were struggling with attendance now coming every morning. They also see the benefits of having an adult be able to have conversations with kids along the route, just kind of checking in with them, building up, SEL, that type of thing. So they've really seen the positive effects of it. I think that another big thing for us, luckily this school year, we've had a lot of new students come. Normally we're not a very transient school, and we are kind of, have our kids for all 6 years, but this year we've gotten a lot of new students. And so as soon as we get a new student in the office, we're asking where they live, if they're on our route, and just kind of telling them about our program, so that, if transportation is a barrier, we want to remove that and have them be able to walk with us.
Shauna, you kind of mentioned incentives to have them walk. Marissa, do you have anything like that going on with yours?
Yes, we do. We started off the program with this big kickoff assembly. I think that's the one that you and Yamato had come and attended. We did it during our lunch period, so we had captive audiences, right? The kids were there eating, and we were able to tell them a little bit about our program. And then you folks even shared pedestrian safety, which was huge. We also wanted to make sure that the kids, when they're walking with us, knew what the rules were, knew what the behavior expectations were. And so setting that all out at that assembly was very helpful. And then when we started, we printed little safe walking route tickets, and as they would walk, we would give them the ticket. They would write their name on it and their room number, put it in a basket, and then periodically we would pick winners of small little prizes. The second quarter that we did our route, we just ended up giving them little snacks to everybody at the end of our route. And then now it's really those kids who really have specific needs. And so we have attendance action plans, based on what those needs are, and they're really tailored to the kids. So I think incentivizing walking is a huge way to get kids to walk and participate.
So I think the beginning of pretty much any um, program here really comes down to uh, who you partner with and the organizations that can help you. And I think that just scrolling down here, you can find, let's see, infrastructure awards. Sorry, Yamato? All the way at the bottom. So if you go to this page and go all the way to the bottom, you can get our contact information for the people in your area. So please feel free to utilize this to kind of get yourselves started. I think partnering is kind of vital, especially when you're dealing with government workers and you are a government worker. I think we all know how long some things can take, and being able to partner with people to help you out and get things done is an excellent way to do that. I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your day. I know you guys aren't necessarily public speakers. But I think you guys did great. You gave us a lot of information, and I think a really good starting point for a lot who want to start their programs. And thank you for kind of thinking outside of the box too on your way of implementing these and adapting it to your needs in your area. So mahalo. I think that I hope your programs last 100 years.